Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are decoding what is arguably one of the most cinematic and visually stunning scenes from the ancient Lotus Sutra. I mean, this text literally reads like a blockbuster movie, but buried right in the middle of all that spectacle is a deeply profound, incredibly practical message about how we actually handle life's hardest moments. So let's break down exactly what this ancient wisdom means for us today.
So, I want you to picture this spectacular scene. The Buddha has just asked his followers a pretty heavy question. Who is going to step up and keep his teachings alive in the difficult, chaotic years ahead? But before a single person can even open their mouth to volunteer, the ground beneath them literally starts to tremble. It cracks wide open, and golden bodhisattvas just pour out of the earth. The text describes this crowd not as a handful of heroes, but as a group so massive that you'd have to count them like grains of sand in a river. They are golden, they are calm, they are radiant, and they are completely filling the sky. The sheer scale of it is totally overwhelming. In fact, even Maitreya, who is the bodhisattva destined to become the very next Buddha, is completely stumped. He looks around at this glowing multitude and asks the exact same question any of us would be asking. Who are all these people, and where on earth did they come from?
To answer him, the Buddha just drops this quiet, absolute bombshell. He reveals that these shining saviors didn't descend from heaven. Nope, they've been his disciples underfoot this entire time. He simply tells Maitreya they were waiting in the ground. And that is the ultimate surprise of this whole chapter. These aren't strangers, and they didn't swoop down from the clouds above. They were right beneath their feet. Now, to really grasp the gravity of this, we need to zoom in on the crowd. Standing at the very front of this enormous host are four distinct leaders, and for such a grandiose, magical entrance, their names are surprisingly ordinary. Let's break down who they are, because as we're going to see, these four figures actually represent the four parts of an open, healthy heart, what the Buddhist tradition calls the four divine abodes.
At the very head of the pack, we've got our four leaders. First up is superior practices. This figure represents loving kindness and the welcoming warmth of an open fire. It comes first on the list because it's literally the baseline warmth that everything else is built from. It's just the unglamorous, basic wish that other people be happy. That's it. It asks for no special reason, and it certainly doesn't ask to check anyone's credentials before it starts working. Just like a fire in an open hearth naturally welcomes anyone into its warmth, superior practices provides that essential baseline temperature for the human heart. Next in line is boundless practices. Now, this one perfectly captures the element of wind, representing compassion. Think about how a strong breeze sweeps into a room and instantly clears out all the stagnant air. That is exactly what compassion does. It's the heart's natural instinct to continuously move toward pain, instead of pulling away or shutting down when things get tough. And the key defining feature is right there in the name. It is boundless. It doesn't look at someone who is maybe a little difficult to love, hit a metaphorical fence and decide, well, okay, that's far enough. No, it just keeps blowing right through.
Moving right along, our third leader is pure practices, tied to the element of water and the concept of sympathetic joy. Now, let's be honest, this one is notoriously difficult. Why? Because it requires us to be genuinely glad for others without any underlying inner envy. It's so easy to say we're thrilled for someone else's good news, but there's usually that sneaky little inner voice muttering, okay, but why didn't that happen to me? Pure practices represents water because it washes all of that away. The purity we're talking about is a joy that has had every single drop of envy completely rinsed out. Most of us are probably still stuck on that rinse cycle, if we're being real, but that is the ideal we're striving for. And finally, bringing it all together, we have firmly established practices. This one is grounded like the earth itself in equanimity. It is the crucial floor of the entire structure. Sometimes people mistakenly think equanimity means being coldly detached or completely distant, but it's actually not that at all. It is the steady, unbothered earth that feeds whatever is growing inside of it. Think about it. Without this firm grounding, the whole house falls apart. If you have love without equanimity, it turns into anxious clinging. If you have compassion without it, you are on a fast track to total burnout. And joy without equanimity can easily spin out of control into mania. Equanimity is the vital, stable floor that stops all of that from happening. Now, here is where things get really fascinating. We've got this other old list from the Nirvana Sutra, known as the Four Virtues of Buddha Nature. Traditionally, Buddhism talks a lot about the hard truths of conditioned existence, right? That everything is impermanent, that life contains suffering, and that there is no fixed self. But the Nirvana Sutra brilliantly takes those difficult realities and just flips them entirely inside out to define our true nature. Impermanence becomes eternity. Suffering becomes bliss.
Non-self becomes true self, and the impure becomes pure.
So the crucial takeaway here, and this is the point that just absolutely stops me in my tracks every single time, is that equanimity isn't some future prize you finally earn after decades of hard practice. The settled calm itself is exactly the same thing as bliss. When we look at firmly established practices, that equanimity we talked about, it maps directly onto bliss. We are so conditioned to think of happiness as a reward that shows up later, only after we've banked enough calm or finally finished the hard work. But this ancient text teaches us that they're actually the exact same thing, just viewed from two different sides. When all the desperate grabbing and frantic grasping of life finally quiets down, what you're left with isn't some empty blankness, it's ease. The calm truly is the joy. When you lay all these concepts out, you start to see how perfectly this builds into an airtight structure, where all these ancient traditions lock seamlessly into place. You have the 4 Bodhisattvas of the earth from the Lotus Sutra, the 4 natural elements, the 4 divine abodes, and those 4 virtues of Buddha nature from the Nirvana Sutra, and they all align flawlessly across the board without any forcing. Superior practices is fire, which is loving kindness, which leads to the true self. Boundless practices is wind, compassion, and eternity. Pure practices gives us water, sympathetic joy, and purity, and firmly established practices is earth, equanimity, and bliss. This isn't just some clever pattern someone invented yesterday. This is a profound foundational structure that the old teachers laid down centuries ago, literally waiting in the ground for us to uncover it.
But okay, here comes the massive twist. This is the beautiful cosmic bait and switch that gives this entire spectacular scene its true grounded meaning. You really have to appreciate the irony happening here. The Lotus Sutra builds up the absolute grandest, most cinematic entrance you could possibly imagine. The earth splits wide open, a literal galaxy of radiant golden saints comes pouring out to save the future. I mean, the sheer grandeur of it totally sets you up to expect something otherworldly and magical. But then, the sutra pulls the rug right out from under us.
And that elegantly sets up the ultimate punchline. The earth didn't crack open to release a bunch of alien deities or sky gods. It opened up to show us the plain, everyday capacities of a healthy human heart. These saints are simply the 4 ordinary motions of a heart that is actually paying attention. Those glowing golden figures that completely shocked Maitreya and filled up the sky, they're literally just loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. They are the normal, everyday functions of a heart that is, well, open and paying attention to the world around it. You know, it's totally human nature to wait for our best selves to arrive from the outside, preferably with a dramatic soundtrack playing in the background. When things get tough, we naturally look up at the sky. We want a white knight. We want this celestial superhero rescue team to descend from the clouds and just fix whatever difficult age we happen to be living in. But the sutra forcefully says, no. Everything we actually need does not fall from the heavens above. It wells up from the very earth we have been standing on this entire time. The tools and capacities we desperately need have always been right inside us, just waiting in the ground. So what does this actually mean for us? It means the heroic keepers of the teaching in dark or chaotic times are just us. It's us quietly stepping up on our very best, most ordinary mornings. Remember when the Buddha asked who would keep the teachings alive in the hard years ahead? The answer wasn't some mythological army. The answer is you and me. It's us on those mornings when we simply manage to show a little unglamorous warmth to a stranger. It's us finding just a tiny bit of boundless courage to walk towards someone else's pain instead of conveniently looking away. It's us managing a genuine moment of honest gladness for our friend without a shred of envy. And it's us finding enough steady, unbothered calm to hold all of that together without burning out. That ordinary effort, that is exactly what saves the world. I want to leave you with this final thought to really explore today. You do not need to look to the sky for a savior, because when you truly pay attention, you are the bodhisattva of the earth. The next time your life feels totally overwhelming, or you feel like the times we are living in are just too uniquely difficult, I want you to remember this stunning scene. Stop waiting for the rescue team. Look down at your own feet. The ground is ready to open, and absolutely all the warmth, compassion, joy, and calm you will ever need are already right there, welling up from the depths of your own life. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep paying attention to that ordinary, incredible heart of yours.